Hey there, thanks for joining me. This is me sheltering, or excuse me, social distancing in the local park, um, downtown Mountain View, in the library. Just playing with some video equipment, playing with video. Want to start sharing more of my experience, strength, and hope, especially around healing and recovery. And let me start by saying that I want to air my insecurities. I find that naming and sometimes just saying out loud what it is I'm afraid of, or how I'm feeling, or what my insecurities are, can take some of the power out of it and make me feel less afraid or insecure. I don't typically grow facial hair. It's been 15 years since I had hair this long, and it's a lot grayer than it used to be. That's for sure. But I feel I've earned the gray. And so, anyway, I have let it grow out and I'm playing with it. So, I'm insecure about that. I don't grow a great beard, I never have. Not want to do it often. So, it is what it is. Anyway, so yeah, healing. Um, when I think of healing, I think of the analogy of the scar. And, when you get a cut and it heals, it creates a scar. And the scar tissue is stronger than the other tissue, than the regular tissue. And I believe the same is true for mental and emotional healing. I believe that when we heal mentally and emotionally, we actually can grow stronger, just like a scar in the body. And I'd like to talk a little bit about healing today in greater depth. I have been sharing memes, visuals, quotes, some verbiage online. Excuse me, but I feel called to go into a deeper dive and talk more about these things, which is why I'm shooting this video, is to start doing that. Anyway, for me, emotional and mental healing requires the courage to feel my feelings. And when I say courage, I say that because not all of my feelings are good. Not all of my feelings are wanted. And not all of my feelings are easy to feel. I believe that's the case with a lot of feelings, like, for instance, pain, loss, and grief. Nobody really wants to feel those things. However, I have found that when I've had the courage to feel my feelings, especially the ones I don't want to feel, it helps to take some of the power out of it, some of the control it may be having in my life, as well as allows me to feel a little bit more and a little bit more deeply. Um, One of my mentors and teachers has talked about it as kind of like taking bites. You don't eat, so to speak, your emotions, which I sometimes do by binge eating, um, all at once. You take little bites as you can. And what I found is that when I allow myself to feel my feelings just a little bit, um, I'm able to feel my feelings just a little bit more. And so it's a slow recovery process to heal emotionally and mentally. And it just starts with having the courage to hold space for yourself and allow you to feel your feelings, especially the ones you don't want to feel. Um, but you got to do so gently and be delicate with it, because it's not an easy process, and feelings can trigger trauma, anxiety, and other things. So it's important to be careful and not take on more than is comfortable. Um, Often, discomfort is a way for me to know that, one, I'm moving outside my comfort zone, and two, that I need to be aware and mindful of how much further I go and whether or not I really want to go any further. And so that discomfort you feel when you feel your feelings is an edge it's also an opportunity to grow beyond whatever edge that may be. But again, I say take it easy. It's not an easy thing to do. Also, I find it's important to have other people to talk to, people I can trust, or people that will listen to me and not try to fix me, so to speak. It's hard to find people like that in this day and age. You may find a support group for whatever particular challenge you're recovering or healing from. I find that can be helpful to talk to other people who are going through or have gone through similar experiences. For me, probably the hardest thing I've had to heal from is the loss of my son. And I lost him in 2015 in an automobile accident. He was 16 years old. His name was Gabe. And, I knew that I had to be very careful to take care of myself through that process, because the loss of a child is unimaginable. It's one of the hardest losses you can have in your life, people say. It's been my hardest loss thus far. So each and every day, what I had to do was I had to take care of myself. I had to do whatever I needed to do to manage through the day, deal with anything that came up, and just get to the next day. And it wasn't easy, but what I found was I was able to do certain things that allowed me to buy time, coping mechanisms that over a long period of time could be detrimental, but in the short term, maybe help me just get through that particular moment or that particular day or week, for instance. Initially, after I lost my son, I watched a lot of TV. I played a lot of video games, and I dissociated that way. I kind of checked out because I was already checked out emotionally. I wasn't there. I wasn't able to connect with myself and others. So to be comfortable in that at all, I found I needed to actually step outside myself, focus on things that would allow me to do that, but not be necessarily detrimental to me. So television, movies, video games, and I allowed myself to eat, as they say, take your comfort. I ate what I felt like eating, and so to some degree I did eat my emotions, as they say. I binge ate, and I consciously chose to be okay with that at the time, knowing that I wouldn't do it forever. But I also didn't want to guilt or shame myself for doing those things, which I knew were unhealthy overall, just because I was using those things to cope in that particular moment or at that particular time. And so I find that it's important, to consciously be aware of our choices when healing. Sometimes those choices may not seem like the best choice or the right choice, but if we do these things, whatever it may be that we need to get through that particular time, if we do so consciously and with intention, I find it's easier. So I kind of allowed myself to do some somewhat unhealthy things to get through the initial grief and loss of my son. But at the same time, I also knew that I needed to do some healthy things like exercise. Also, I needed to talk about what I was going through. So I got a grief counselor, someone who actually lost a son just slightly older in an accident. Both of our children were not driving. So we were able to relate personally, and that helped professionally. I'm grateful that I found a good fit for me for a grief counselor. And I also had a support group. I had a support group for other issues in my life, and I was able to lean on that somewhat to get support. And I started doing more things on a daily basis that I knew would help me in the long run. So while I was, yes, binging on TV and food and that kind of thing, I was also journaling, trying to practice meditation when I could, activity or exercise, just getting outside in the sun, whatever it may be. And so there was some good, some bad, so to speak. But I had a balance, and I had to find that balance each and every day. What worked yesterday may not work today, and so I just had to keep an open mind, and I had to remain willing to try new things, that may help. And in so doing this, after a few months of self-care, I began to learn how to actually care about myself. I didn't really know that I didn't care for myself very well until I had to care for myself. And through caring for myself, I learned to care about myself. And so one of the greatest gifts my son gave me was the opportunity to take care of myself, and in so doing learn to care about myself. And so for me, this is one of the ways in which the wound of losing my son has healed to some degree in a way that makes me stronger. Just like the scar, when we get a cut in our bodies, and the scar tissue is stronger than the other tissue. So basically, I guess that's all I want to share right now. If you've hung out and listened, I hope you've gotten something that may help you or someone else going through grief or loss or recovery of some sort. Anyway, just know that you're not alone. It's not easy, but it's possible. And I hope you feel you're worth it. And if you don't feel that way, act as if. As they say in recovery, fake it till you make it. What I found is I had to act my way into better thinking. I couldn't think my way into better action. So I had to get into action. I had to do some things on a regular basis. And eventually those things helped me get to where I am today. Anyway, take care and God bless.